Okay, so does anyone here have previous cybersecurity experience? Do you guys? Is anyone a cybersecurity professional? No. Perfect. Okay, nice. So everyone in computer science here, or do you have other backgrounds as well? It's gonna be interactive, guys. You're gonna have to. What's your background? Yes?
Commercial law.
Okay. Do you have a bit background in coding and stuff like that?
No.
Okay, perfect. So don't hesitate to stop me if I go too fast or if if I say stuff that's not understandable or things like that. So let's start. So today is going to be a small introduction to cybersecurity. Get you guys the basic understanding what is cybersecurity, things like that, because it's good to talk about cyber. You probably hear it a lot in news and stuff like that. But what exactly is cybersecurity? So that's the first question we're going to answer. So cybersecurity is defined by the protection of system, networks, and data, protection of a lot of stuff. But globally, the cybersecurity is protecting the assets of a company, a business, or personal information. So it covers hardware, software, network data, and users, because let's not forget protection of ourselves as well, because it's quite important. So users here can be defined as, you probably heard about phishing, you probably heard about attacks like this, which attack directly the social aspect of a person and not software components or things like that. So the definition made by IBM about cybersecurity is it's the practice of protecting people, systems, and data from cyber attacks by using various technologies, processes, and policies. So the processes and policies here in the European Union and probably globally, there are a lot of laws and there are a lot of things put in place to respect certain standards. Because if we didn't have these standards, probably, you could say that something's secure, but someone else would say something's not secure, and it would go everywhere. So that's why we have some laws in the UK and in Europe. So I'm sorry to disappoint you guys if ever you expected hacking to be something where you just press button and magically it happens. It's not the case. There's a lot of regulations that come in place. There are a lot of stuff that we need to see and stuff that you need to understand to be able to start hacking stuff or even start defending stuff, because not everyone wants to hack stuff. Some people prefer defending it, and I'm totally for it. So why it matters? Because we defined it. Now we need to understand why it's important. Nowadays, there's so much reliance on technology. Everything you do, everything you search for, everything is data. You try to see some place, you go on Google Maps. Oh, damn, if there's a breach on Google Maps, someone might leak all the places you've been. There has been some issues like that, some bodyguards of presidents that has been tracked with Strava. So this is geolocation problems. Or banking, if you get your accounts cracked, this is an issue as well. Healthcare, social media, and I'm not going to make the whole list. There's also rising threats, so as you can guess, with more technology, more threats, and because you got AI now, all that things like that, there are jobs specific in cybersecurity regarding AI. So this can be, right now, it's really an industry that's booming. It has a huge impact on individual companies and governments, as you can probably guess when you get your social media and all your data stolen, it's not a small impact. And so there's a study that says that in the UK, approximately 612,000 businesses and 61,000 charities have identified a cyber breach in the past year. So this is a study that was made for 2025. And this study also says that of businesses and charity that experienced the breach, these in the last 12 months, phishing attacks have been the biggest attacks. So as it comes back to the same thing, saying that the social element is the biggest flaw in technology. So we estimate the most disruptive breach in each business being £1,600 for businesses and £3,200 for charities. So this is the average, but that's what they consider as the biggest impact for 2025 attacks for all these charities and businesses. So it's good to know. Now we know a bit about what is cyber, why it matters. Let's talk about some historical incidents that happened and some stuff that really marked the world. So you probably heard about some of them. Probably the WannaCry ransomware maybe rings a bit of a bell somewhere. Yeah, so this one was really very media. So a lot of media talked about it. But let's start from the real beginning, which is the Morris worm. Probably never heard of this, or maybe you already did. This is considered as the first internet worm and also the first computer virus. So I'm not going to go into a whole, historical lesson and everything, but this is quite interesting. Got a lot of research papers on Google Scholar if you want, and you can really go and deep dive into that. But it really did a big panic in the world. People were not expecting that. People really were surprised by a computer virus that didn't exist before. So it was the panic in the world when this happened, and a really interesting read if anyone is interested. So the Google China attack, also known as the Aurora attack, maybe some of you heard of it. No, but it was a big breach. So as you can see with the small illustration, people thought that Google died. So yeah, but no, it was a very, very infamous attack. Chinese people were behind it. That's what they say. I mean, we never know, but they say it was targeted by the Chinese government spy agencies or things and things like that. There were never any proofs, but we see with how they attack, they leave some traces. They leave some stuff that we can identify and say that it's traced back to them. So, multiple attacks happen, and at the same time, they have almost the same methodology every time. So you can say, oh, this is this group, this is the other group, and you can associate which hack happened from which group. There was a big data breach from Yahoo. So until very recently, it was the biggest data breach that ever happened. I think 3 billion lines of data were in the breach. So yeah, one of the largest data breach, and WannaCry ransomware, which crippled hospitals. It was a ransomware, and at the time, 2017, the ransomware was to be paid in Bitcoin. Were they a bit early? Were they a bit late? I don't know. But it's good to know they already used Bitcoin to not be traced at this time. So now recent incidents, because it's quite interesting to see what happened very recently. So Mark & Spencer had a big data breach recently. Probably some of you have Mark & Spencer accounts. Sorry to say, guys, now they're in the wild. So, but you can always check on the website. It's called Have I Been Pwned? If you go on this website, you can check if your emails or credentials were in data breaches. So this is quite useful. Probably not all of them, but as an example, I'm French, and the French government has been breached recently. So if you go check on that website, I see that my data has been leaked by the French government. Thanks to the French government. So there was a strike from. There was also a hack made by CrowdStrike. So this you probably saw because big disruptions in the airports, stuff like that. So this was CrowdStrike hack, and I talked a bit with a friend about this one, and apparently it was some very, very dumb reason. So this was really not a hack. This was more of a human error of the people that developed CrowdStrike software. They did an issue with a list. So they made like a list like we would do today, and they missed the indexes by one. Look what happened. So, human errors happen, but this is not really a hack, but it's really something that you probably heard of. And the Chinese surveillance database, very recent one. I think they called it the wall of fire or something like that. I don't know, but this is now considered as the biggest data breach that ever happened. Not that mediatized, to be honest. You might have not heard of it, but it appears somewhere sometimes online if you check Instagram or things like that. So we exposed 4 billion records, and again, primarily from China. Why? Because the records that are exposed are mostly Alipay, Alibaba records, stuff like that. So mostly Chinese companies used by Chinese people. So that's it. So now, let's talk about the core focus areas of cybersecurity. So the core focus areas, it's pillars. It's not all the areas. You can go more in depth if you want, but as basic pillars, information security is important in cybersecurity. So information is all about protecting data, confidential things like that. Network security, defending infrastructure. So if I connect in my accommodation in uni in Exeter by Ethernet cable, and at the end I can touch the admin panel, this is very bad network security. So also application security. So there are a lot of vulnerabilities on software, on the web and stuff like that. It's good to protect that as well. Operational security, all the governance stuff, the policies, the regulations that you set up within a company and a business to really have something squared up. Human factor, surprising with all the phishing attacks that we have. Of course, the human factor is something that cybersecurity really focuses on, and now more than ever, because you got a lot of phishing. Again, sorry about you reusing the word phishing, but AI makes it way easier than it was before. Generate false emails, send false things. Now AI does it like this, and it's more dangerous than ever. And physical security. You often don't think that cybersecurity includes physical security, but it does. In a job called red teaming, people that do the red team often try to get access to the server room. And to get access to the server room, they impersonate employees, taking like some ladders or some glowy vests, and they come say, hey, I'm here to repair the aircon. And they go through because the people are not trained and don't have the reflex to say, oh wait, I need to see some ID and things like that. So physical security is also part of cybersecurity. Career paths, no, I'm not going to do that. Why I'm not going to do that is because I'm not going to list all the all the jobs that exist in cybersecurity. It would be boring for you guys and it wouldn't mean anything because it would just be, describing line by line. So I'm definitely not going to do that. I'll go another way and show you guys different dimensions that happen in cybersecurity. So you got the red team, you got the blue team. This is just ways to say the blue team is the people that defend. So the jobs that here are doing defensive cybersecurity. And the red team are people that do offensive cybersecurity, so the people that attack, but it's not attacking their own infrastructure to break it. It's doing that, but at the end, doing a report and saying, these are the vulnerabilities that we found, these are the ways we suggest you patch it, and then the blue team takes it into account and fixes it. So they merge in the middle and do something called the purple team. These are jobs, more management jobs than really technical jobs. But that's the collaboration of the blue team and the red team. So at the end, when you got someone that hacked something, someone that fixed something, you need people to say, is this really fixed? Is it not fixed? What do we need to implement in the further for this not to happen? And things like that. So this is the purple team as well. The offensive paths in cybersecurity. Just to list a few, there are a lot, and I would probably not be able to list them all here. But to list a few of offensive cybersecurity paths, firstly, you need to think to outsmart a hacker, you need to think like one. That's really something that I go by. You cannot think that you're going to be able to defend something if you don't know how the people are going to attack it. So let me just pop up my notes on this one. Yes, so firstly, as I said before, offensive paths involve breaking into stuff. So that's the funny part, what you call hacking, all the things like that. So you break, you understand how you break it, and you tell the other guys they need to repair this because that enabled you to break it. You also have people that do bug bounty. Probably heard of the term bug bounty before. Yeah, bug bounty. Yeah. So bug bounty, there are two big platforms that do bug bounty. One big platform is called Yes We Hack. The other one is called HackerOne. These platforms here are making bug bounty publicly available. So these are companies like Netflix, like Tinder, like Instagram that pay the people to find bugs on a specific scope. So they tell you only hit these endpoints, so only go on these URLs. And if you find vulnerabilities on these URLs, report them, and we might pay you some money. So that's bug bounty. It's quite nice. A lot of people do it. Not a lot of people get paid. So, it seems like the interesting one, but it's very hard to get paid when you do bug bounty. So there you have the penetration tester, you have the red teamer, you have the security engineers. These are the ones I personally consider as the main pillars of the offensive security paths. But you also have people that do malware development, people that vulnerability researchers. So these are often PhD or people that they love research in a specific domain like cryptography or like Ashim that you probably know. He has a PhD and I think he did his report in cryptography. So he could be a vulnerability researcher. A physical penetration tester, so someone that does tests on only physical items or locks, things like that. You have a lot of stuff regarding how a lock should be made, if your door should be going through, so there's a lot of stuff regarding the physical world in cybersecurity as well. And the main one you will probably hear the most about is penetration tester. So that's the guy that hacks. To be very simple, the guy that hacks behind his computer, he's gonna get so if he's in a big company, he's gonna get clients, and someone is gonna tell him, okay, you got 4 weeks, you need to find the maximum vulnerability on that. That's it. That's his job. That's all he does, and it might be on web, might be on IoTs, so specific hardware devices, things like that. It's really this. And defensive cybersecurity, the blue team. Ooh. So these ones, there are a lot of jobs there as well. So the jobs are the people that work in security operations centers. So this is a big title to englobe a lot of people. So you got the security operations centers analyst, you got the heads of cybersecurity operations center. This is somewhere where you got a lot of jobs, but to make it in a general way, these are the people behind the computers say, oh, there's been a breach in our company. Let's try to track down where it comes from. Okay, that comes from here. Let's ring the alert. Let's lock out the system. Let's do like that. So these are the people that monitor it the systems in a company very closely to assure you don't need someone running a SOC for your own home network. That shouldn't be an issue. No one is going to try to break into a company, break into your home network as hard as they will probably try to break into a company. happens very, very often. Probably every day, some attacks on a single company, and so yeah, it's quite fast. So you got as well. You got people that do threat intelligence. So these are people that collect and analyze some informations about the tactics, the recent tactics, how the people work during our days, things like that. And they use a lot of frameworks that are public that you can see today, that we're going to talk about one as well, that give you some recommendations on how to set up your cybersecurity infrastructures. People that do digital forensics, so it's in the title, they do forensics. When an attack happened, they are the people that go back on the attack and say, how did they manage to do this? And you got people that do malware analysis. So when you have a malware, you need to get some people to understand how these malwares work. These are the people that do that. And vulnerability researchers as well. But vulnerability researchers will probably develop the malware to understand how it would affect a company. These are the guys that will reverse engineering a malware that already exists. So why we want you in cybersecurity? So it's can be a bit of a repetitive thing, but it's very in demand. It's a job that's very in demand. So right now we know the job market is a bit sorry for the language, but it's a bit fucked up. We know in computer science there are not a lot of jobs. We see a lot of memes saying that people in computer science are not going to find a lot of jobs. And it's good to say that in cybersecurity it's not the case, because with the rise of AI as well, we got jobs that are created. People that do prompt injection, which is an attack on AI models. These are really, really very in demand right now. So of course you need to get you need to know what you're doing. You cannot just say, okay, I know prompt injection from tomorrow. But with the rise of AI and the rise of new vulnerabilities probably every day, you get a lot of demand. So that's a good thing for people that are in cyber. You'll always have a job until the AI does the job for you. But that's not going to happen right now. It's also exciting because you don't have a routine. You never have a routine. Every day you might have something different to do. So you're going to hack something, and the next day you're going to hack something very different. And so you're going to defend some different threats. And the next day you might get something that you're not able to defend, and you'll have to do some forensics. So it happens. It's very, very exciting, and there's no routine. So if people don't like routine, I would suggest going in cyber. And of course, the high pay. Come on, who doesn't want money? Yeah, so it's a high pay. You got very strong starting salaries. So in the UK, you often start around 40. I think if you get a good job as a pen tester, that's the one I know, you start around 40 grand a year. So it's not bad really for a starting salary. I mean, it's not the best. You need to start somewhere, but it's quite nice starting at 40 grand when you're in an entry job. So and of course, if you get more specialized skill, you get more money, which makes a bit of sense. So now that we talked about all the jobs, let's define something that's often mismatched or misinterpreted. So trust, risk, and vulnerability. They are not the same thing. Risk and vulnerability. Sorry, not trust. Threat. Sorry about that. The title is false. So vulnerability is something that is susceptible to attack or damage. So it's in information security. Vulnerability is a weakness. So you probably see that vulnerability is a weakness as the best definition. Threat is something that is a potential danger. So it's not something that's an actual problem right now, but it's potentially going to be an issue if someone exploits a vulnerability. Then you got the risk. The risk is the likelihood of a threat happening. So these definitions might be a bit, why is he talking about that? We don't care. It's really important for the rest of the courses and the rest of the year that you understand these definitions. So to illustrate a bit what I'm saying, you can use the example here. So a car seller has a showroom with doors and windows made of glass. This is a weakness or a vulnerability because the glass might break. So consequently, there's a threat that the glass door might be broken. So as I said, the showroom owners could contemplate the risk, so the likelihood that the glass is going to break, and resulting on an impact in the business. So we need to understand that. Is it clear for everyone? Let's go.
Yes.
Perfect. So now we come to something that you might have heard about, or if you're doing second year network and computer security module, you probably had the lecture yesterday or something like that, where Ashim, which is the guy that does the lecture, talked about the CIA triad. So I'm going to talk about it again because it's really the pillar of cybersecurity and how people build infrastructures based on that. CIA, I know it sounds a bit like FBI, government bodies, but that's not the case. It's confidentiality, integrity, availability. So these are really the big pillars. So confidentiality is preventing unauthorized access to something. Integrity is keeping something not modified by people that shouldn't be modifying it. And you got availability is ensuring access. So if people spam requests on a website, 20 people spam requests and the website goes down, it has no availability. So that's a problem as well. So you got an examples, ATM security, which is something very important. The big pillar for ATM security is confidentiality. You don't want people getting your PIN code just by going after you and inserting your card. Medical record system, important one, integrity. You don't want to, if you have a blood type, you don't want next day someone change your blood type and you get a perfusion and you die. That's not cool. So emergency services as well. This one is the big pillar for emergency services, availability. If you go to the emergency, you don't want them to say, sorry, we're full, come back tomorrow. Nah, that's a bit of a pain if you got a broken leg or something. So the CIA triad is very, very important. But you got to understand there's a balance. CIA triad. You're probably asking yourself, why are we not having the three pillars of the CIA triad at the same time? And no problem, because we cannot. Most of the time, when you insist on something, you neglect the other things. So this is what happens with the CIA triad. You can have confidentiality, integrity, availability, but it cannot be high level for all three of them. It has something has to be a bit less to let the others go. So as an example, you get confidentiality versus availability. So in multi-factor authentication, if you have a very strong system with a lot of multi-factor authentication, it's good. You have a good confidentiality. But at the same time, you kill the availability because the people that want to log on, they have to go through the multi-factor authentication to go through all the steps every time. So it makes it less available. Confidentiality versus integrity. So if you have very heavy encryption, it's good. You keep your integrity. But at the same time, when you do that, if there's errors in decryption and things like that, you threaten the integrity. And same thing for integrity versus availability. If you do frequent backups, it's good, but you might reduce availability because the system might be a bit slower or things like that. So, how to know which one? Because it's good to know this happens, but how can you determine really what a system has as the pillars of CIA? Ask yourselves these questions. What causes the biggest damage if the system fails? Is it data being leaked? Is it data being wrong? Or is it the system being offline? To assure you guys, there can be two of them. There can even be three of them. But most of the time, as I said, you need to find the balance. So there will be two of them and one that's going to be a bit more neglected. So give it a go. This is an exercise. So I'll put some stuff here. So these are all examples, and please, so after we'll go through the answers and try to identify which elements of the CIA triad corresponds to what. So I'll give you guys 5 minutes or something like that, or a bit less. I mean, if everyone finishes before, to try and determine this. Just a warning, there are two of them on a few of them, and there is one where the three pillars of the CIA triad applies. Good luck. You can work as groups, work as just like okay, perfect. I was afraid it would be a bit boring when I finished
When we started the voice recording.
Yeah, man, but that's what I try to do because I know a lot of people will do that, so that's why I want to do. I want to put some basics that actually float and as well add some stuff that I thought was missing.
Because I didn't want to take pictures asking people first.
I'm gonna ask like what do you think of the site like that? And I'll say thank you.
That's why I said it's easy. That's why it's
I see availability, yeah.
I was going to say the other two.
Really?
Which one are you doing?
Also with the airline, right?
Actually, no, you can just do that when you're on the decks. You will check. That's true.
Yeah, but it's
That's true. That's true.
it could be two.
I think confidentiality availability.
And integrity is
Yeah, but it's less of premium.
You don't want to lose that.
Yeah, but it's less of premium if you get changed than if your credit card gets leaked.
Yeah, but imagine your flight is
I'd rather
instead of going to
yeah, imagine you want one flight and it's not actually the destination you want to go
I'd
to.
rather that than lose all my credit card.
That's true. That's true.
And I because yeah. Now, obviously, military command system is all free.
If we're excluding payment relations, then it's integrity.
Yeah. Military command system has to be all free.
Well, the most important one's confidentiality.
Availability is also very
If you have to pick one, you have to pick one.
You're calling out confidentiality.
I mean, they're very good, like, you can't use it.
If you had to pick one position, for example, the UN, UK, like, existing stuff,
The thing is,
well, even though but they don't have to be changed. They don't have to be How often do you talk about
But I mean, theoretically, currently, they don't have that, they're not legal. Apart from this specific stuff, they're not legal. Why don't you get from data? Because they're not in the same way it has no law.
I thought
Even if they formally
I think it's close to
yeah, but it also feels like I'm trying to water
I trust them, I don't
probably
anyways, no, it's been a couple of years. But I don't think that
That's why
currently
Okay, everyone. Okay. So, let's go. So, who wants to go for the first one? So the first one was Amazon checkout. Who wants to go? It's going to be interactive.
Availability.
Let's go. Which one?
Availability.
Okay, availability. It's good, but it's also, just to warn before, it's a bit subjective. So it's gonna be whatever you think mostly, and if as long as you can justify it and you can justify it correctly, it's good. What do you say?
Confidentiality.
Okay, and what do you say?
I would say the same, but with integrity as well.
Okay, so what I wrote down personally, but it's up to you guys if you can justify, is integrity and availability for me. So confidentiality is important, of course, because if you get your data leaks when you try to check out on Amazon, it's not good. But I would say the priority for this is keeping, you don't want your basket to be modified when you order something, and you don't want your basket to disappear as well. So, I mean, confidentiality is definitely important, but what I personally put as, again, it's subjective, so it's what you think, is integrity and availability. Because, as the example say,
I've got a question about confidentiality then, yes, because obviously if somebody else log into your account, make shopping for X thousands of pounds, I think that's wrong, if that makes sense, yes?
That's wrong, but that would be more on the integrity side. So
Integrity side.
So it would be the breach on confidentiality and integrity.
Confidentiality and integrity.
Because
So
he
you
would...
said availability, didn't you?
On which one? On this one?
On Amazon.
On Amazon, what I put is integrity and availability, because it would be, it's not someone breaking into your account. I think that the question was, what are the biggest flaws if what are the biggest representations for this? So for the e-commerce, for Amazon checkouts, or for an e-commerce site, I would personally, again, it's very subjective, but I would say integrity and availability are the most important. So, some people might argue that not, but for your example, if someone took over your account, it would be confidentiality and integrity breach, because they ordered some stuff that you didn't want, so broke your integrity, and they broke into your account, so confidentiality.
Because confidentiality is preventing unauthorized access.
Yes, true.
And therefore, if company didn't look into it, everyone can access everyone's account.
Yes.
And how I was looking at it, for example, from my perspective, if I can log in anywhere, make a shopping for anything, somebody else paying for it, company would actually have to switch off the website.
And so you break availability as well, if you switch off the website.
No, but that company would have to, if that makes sense. Yes?
Oh, yes.
Because they would be preventing their business. Because suddenly different customers make shopping for different people. Yes? And using somebody else's cards, which is confidentiality, and therefore the company, to prevent themselves, they will just switch off the servers. That's how I thought about it. Yeah, and I think it's very true. So to give you something, so the final exam you get in network and computer security, which is second year module on cybersecurity, there is questions on CIA triad, and the lecturer says everything can be right as long as you justify it correctly. So it applies here as well. As long as you justify it like you did, I mean, it's very true. What you say is very true. So definitely, I would agree with it. But that's when I wrote the slides. That's what came to my mind. So the next one was for an exam database. Anyone has an answer? Integrity.
People changing their grades.
Yeah, integrity is a good one, and I was thinking about another one as well. Yes, this one I would put confidentiality as well, because you need to keep that private. Not everyone needs to access your grades. If I had a bad grade, I don't want everyone to see that I had a bad grade, and the grades must not be altered as well, because if I had a very good grade, I don't want someone to say shouldn't have a good grade and modify my grade. That would be a bit sad. So for a voting system, who had an answer for the voting system? Yep.
All three.
Sorry, all three? It's not the one I was thinking for all three, but you could definitely make an argument that it has all three for the voting system. Well, I had two in mind, so all three could also apply for this one.
Confidentiality and integrity, because they need to know that it's secure, because people can't know who you voted for.
Yes.
And at the same time, you also need to trust that nobody can change who you voted for.
Exactly, yes.
But if it's down for 5 minutes, it's not the end of the world.
So that's exactly what I thought at the time of writing this slide. So I would say the big pillars for voting system is keeping your ballot secret and unaltered. So because if you can vote today or if you can vote tomorrow, which affects availability, I mean it's important as well. but I wouldn't put it as a primary pillar for voting systems. But you can always make a point that is. So that's the funny part about CIA. As long as you make a point, as long as you make a point about it, it's good. So for Netflix, if you guys didn't get a glimpse of what was written, what would be very important? So for this one, there's only one pillar that I thought was important.
Availability.
Yes, for Netflix, because if you cannot watch your favorite shows on the day you want to watch them, you're probably going to be very pissed. So for this one, I would put availability. Customers expect 24/7 service. For an airline system, so if you want to go to the Bahamas to take vacations, what is important? Yes.
Integrity.
Integrity is good, and I was thinking about one other. Oh, where's this? Okay, no, sorry. Yeah.
Confidentiality.
So I didn't put confidential. It's almost the same as the Amazon checkout one. So I was thinking about the same logic on this one. So if it's not confidentiality, it's availability. Yeah, exactly. So for this one, I was going for the same logic as the Amazon checkout. For an airline system, you want to get correct booking. So if you go to the Bahamas, you don't want to finish in Paris, or if you go and you want to be able to book your flights when you go on the website. But of course, same thing for confidentiality. If you have someone that goes onto can access your accounts for your bookings and check your miles or stuff like that, it's also not very good. So confidentiality.
We way over here. It's down for 5 minutes, or somebody else.
Yes, and that's
It's
exactly it.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. But all the points can be made on the CIA triad. So that's also a bit of something that can be a bit confusing, because if you study it at the university, they give you some proper examples with some proper stuff, and they don't tell you that it's very subjective. So you can be a bit trying to understand why they say exactly that. But if you make your point and justify it correctly, it's always applicable. So the next one was military command. So a military command center, what would apply for that?
I would probably say all three, although you did say there was only one with all three, simply because, well, yeah.
Yeah, man, that's a very good one. So the one I was thinking with all three would be military command, because the orders need to be confidential, accurate, because you don't want to bomb 20 kilometers away from where you were bombing initially. So and it should be always available, because if your troops are getting fired on, you don't want to tell them, sorry man, we're a bit occupied, we're trying to reboot the server, call back in 3 days. It's not going to happen. So you need to have all three on a military command. Shit, again, sorry, my bad. So last one would be WhatsApp. What do you guys think about WhatsApp? Here, come on guys, let's go. Anyone? Let's go, yes?
Confidentiality and integrity.
Yes, that's it. That's the one I put for WhatsApp, because you don't want people to read your private messages. That would be, you wouldn't be happy if someone saw what you were texting your mom. And the other thing is integrity. You don't want a message change. If someone tells you meet at 12:30, you don't want your message to be changed meet at 5:30, because you would miss your meeting. So yeah, that's it. But also for this one, availability can be made as a point. As I say every time, you can do whatever you want on CIA as long as you justify it. So that was CIA. Now let's go for the opposite, the DAD triad. It's a bit scary, but don't worry. So the DAD triad is actually the opposite of the CIA triad. So CIA gives you a good basis of what you need to structure to have cybersecurity put in place, and the DAD triad shows you what people would try to do to break that CIA triad. So a security system is attacked through several of the DAD triad. DAD holds for disclosure, alteration, and destruction or denial. So disclosure would be attacking confidentiality. If you attack confidentiality, you obtain disclosure. So breaking into a restricted website would be disclosure. Alteration, which is, as you probably can, yes, attacking integrity. So if you have alteration, you modify the restricted exam database, you alter the data. And destruction or denial, so you have rendering a website unavailable because you spam the refresh button. If they have a very bad infrastructure behind, you might take the website down, and that would be called the denial of service or destruction of material. So as I said, the opposite of CIA triad, it is the DAD triad. You can remember it because it's very uncommon to call the DAD triad, but as CIA opposite DAD triad, both of them are triangles, got 3 words in them, and they are the opposite. So the fundamental concepts of cybersecurity models. So I'm going to go a bit quickly on this one. Not going to define all of them. These are stuff that you might see. These are public models that are applied to show and to put standards in a company to say what, depending on what you want to focus. These are some models saying who can write stuff, who can read stuff, depending on their roles and their within the company. So you got the Bella Lapuluda model, which aims to achieve confidentiality, which is the one I'm going to go a bit more in depth on because that's the one you might study in Exeter, and that's the most common one. Got the Biba integrity model, which is also very common, but I'm not going to go through this today. And you got a Clark-Wilson model, which has a bit of a different structures. The last two are focused on integrity. The first one is focused on confidentiality. So depending what focus they have, they are not structured the same way. So certain models, certain users might be able to write down and read up or things like that. And in other models, they might not be able to do that because they're not aiming for the same thing. Before I go on the next slide, I have a question. Are you guys all okay to appear in the picture?
Okay.
All good? All good? Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. So, the Bella Lapuluda model. So this is if you have any questions on that, because it can be a bit complicated to understand. But so it's a trust model. So you have 3 rules that apply in the Bella Lapuluda model. The first one is having simple security property. So it's a property that's referred to no read up. So no read up means that a user that has privilege under a certain user cannot read what the guy above. So if your boss made a file, you cannot read what the file that your boss made. So that's called no read up. Also, you have the star security property, which is called also said as no write down. So this one can be a bit more complicated to understand, but in this model, it means that someone, your boss with higher security, so your boss, cannot write something on a lower level. So you might wonder, how does that affect security? And that's mostly for information disclosure. So you wouldn't want people that your boss to be able to write files at your level because he might, not on purpose, disclose some stuff while writing files that you might be able to read that you shouldn't be able to read. So that's the second property. And you got the discretionary security property, which uses an access matrix to represent read and write operations. So here it's the access matrix is the same one as the 2 rules above. So it's not a specific access matrix. So this, as you can see here, imagine the first subject is your boss. If your boss can write, you cannot access anything of what he's doing. But that's you. If you can read, write, your boss can only read what you do, but cannot write what at your level. So that's can be a bit hard to understand. Is it good for everyone? Okay, perfect. So this is something you might see a bit in public, or you might see a bit. This is a very popular model. So there's something called defense in depth. So I'm gonna go a bit fast on that. Why did I choose a castle? Because it's the best analogy to understand defense in depth. Castle has a gate, then you got people pouring lava on you, then you got people shooting arrows on you, then after you probably go into inner walls, then you got other stuff. So it's really walls and walls and walls that make defense in depth. So it refers to creating security multiple level. It's multiple level with multiple tools. It's not multiple levels with the same tools every time. So it's not a brick wall and a brick wall and a brick wall and a brick wall. It's like you go brick wall, then you get maybe a bit harder material wall, then at the end you get the obsidian wall. So it's really like an avocado, you got different stuff. So you got physical security, then you got perimeter security, then you have network security, endpoint security, application security, and data security at the end with policies and awareness to make sure that everyone understands this properly. In cybersecurity, training people to understand what they have to do and how they can impact a whole company is one of the key factors. If you have a business that does cybersecurity, if people that work with you are not trained on cyber, this is the biggest mistake you can do, and if one day they're hacked, they can bring down the whole company if they don't know what measures to take on and stuff like that. So consider the analogy. There's another analogy. If you have all your money in a locker, are you just going to hide the key? Just going to lock the locker and hide the key? Or do you prefer locking the doors, then locking your house, then putting cameras? So, this is the whole analogy of defense in depth. Then there's one other thing called the zero trust principle. So this can work. It's not the same as defense in depth, even if it also looks like an avocado, but it's not the same thing. But it works. The both concepts work together to make really secure systems. So this picture is taken from Microsoft. So this is their schematic of the zero trust principle. So never trust, always verify. So it's a very paranoiac method, but it's one of the best methods that works in cybersecurity. So never trust any users, even the users that are already authenticated, and give them the least privilege possible. So there's also one other concept called the least privilege, the concept of least privilege. But this is one other thing. When you do the zero trust principle, you go from the fact that everyone's dangerous, even if they're authenticated, they're still dangerous. So you continuously authenticate, you give the least privilege access, you segment all the networks, you segment everything. So if someone, again, might get access to your intranet portal of your company, they won't have access to your database, even if they're already authenticated. They would have to have other credentials or re-authenticate. So that's the zero trust principle. Then you got certain frameworks that define in cybersecurity. So you got the NIST framework, which is a very popular framework, general framework. It's not, you got some attack frameworks. This is a framework that's based for companies to have a cost-effective way of developing cybersecurity measures. So it has core functions: identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. So identify what you need to do to manage the risk. Identify protect after what all your assets. Detect a threat if it happens. Respond to the threat as fast as possible, and then recover after for the threats, identifying what was your flaw and how to fix it, and you go all over again. It's a cycle. Then, European laws and regulation. It's important to know what laws you're subject to at when you try to do stuff like ethical hacking or things like that. Because if you try to hack stuff, random stuff on the internet, one morning you might get the FBI knocking on your door and you don't know and you don't understand why, because you didn't respect stuff. You thought you were doing good because you reported the vulnerability you found, but maybe the company said, I never authorized this guy to do it. And at the end, they knock on your door and they say, oh, you owe us this number of money, and you won't be very happy because you helped them and they didn't recognize what you did. So this is also some big problem in bug bounty. It's very regulated. So you got the GDPR, probably heard of. I don't remember what the acronym is for, but it's a European thing about data privacy and protection. It's the biggest European regulation. So if we wanted to film you guys, or if we wanted to have you guys film a form, fill in a form with your personal information and give it to our sponsors, we would have to make you privacy terms and conditions, things like sign a form with terms and conditions, which would be in accordance with GDPR laws. You have the NIS2 Directive, Cyber Resilience Act, E-Privacy Regulation, Cybersecurity Act, DORA. You don't need to learn all of these. It's just that you know that everything that we do in cybersecurity is very regulated. And you got laws in Europe, you got laws in the US that apply in the US, you got medical regulations, and you got credit card data compliance laws. You got a lot of laws. So this was all for today as material. What I want to show you guys finally is exactly what the schedule of what we're going to do this year. So in term 1, we plan on covering the foundations. Of course, this is not definitive. So if you guys think that it might be a bit boring because it might be too easy, I can add some other stuff in there, and I can definitely go more in depth before the end of term 1. So what I was planning is going on to networking basics next week, then going and seeing the jobs and certification security, web basics, Linux basics, Windows basics, understanding cryptography, understanding offensive securities and certain tools, defensive security solutions, pen testing methodology, and then we start getting a bit more in depth with passive reconnaissance and active reconnaissance, which are offensive cybersecurity methods. This is always modifiable, so if you guys are interested in something else and you would like to see it on the course, send us a message on WhatsApp or on Instagram or anywhere you can contact me. We're cybersecurity experts. You can probably find my email, my personal email, or anything if you try to look for it. So definitely give it a go. Then that was a plan for term 2. So this is when we go a bit more in depth. See specific vulnerabilities, learn how to use specific tools, how to get shell, do privilege escalation. My very favorite is buffer overflows and R2 wins, and specific stuff like that. But we cannot attack that if we don't see the basics first, because we're going to get everybody lost if we go straight into that. So next week, what is network? Understanding the Aussie model. What is a LAN and why is it useful? How do we move data on the network? So what are packets, what are frames, all the things like that. And how do you extend your network to the internet? So what are VPNs, firewalls, and port forwarding, things like that. So if you guys are interested, see you next week. Especially this week, there are no workshops. So this is the only week where there will be no workshops. We want you guys to get settled in first. You know, this is the start of the week. Freshers week just finished. You're all already still hangover probably. So take it easy. And this week, just get your organization sorted. Get everything you need. Get ready for next week because we're gonna go straight into it and it's gonna be good. So feel free to send the messages, send everything you need. If you want extra info, anything like that, just send a message. So these are our sources. These slides will be available on our websites, on our website that Adam is made. So thank you very much, Adam, for that. Can we give him a small round of applause?